People see this chair and they make assumptions. They see my size and assume that there's things that I just can't do from here. Businesses that I can't build. Levels that I can't reach. And I want to address that right now before we go any further. Not to complain about it, not to ask for sympathy, but because dismantling that assumption is exactly what this video is about. Every deal, every record, every piece of content, every brand partnership, it runs from this chair. And today I'm going to show you exactly how. Not because this is an inspiration story, but because the systems and tools built out of necessity. Here are generally some of the most efficient setups you will ever see. And whether you are disabled or not, whether you're a creator or entrepreneur or both, what I'm about to share will change how you think about building a business. Let me walk you through, no pun intended, layer by layer. The foundation of everything is the music production setup. Running FL Studio 24 as the primary DAW. Plugin library includes Electra X, Nexus, Contact, and Arcade. Now, here's what most people do not understand about this setup. It is not modified. It is not some special adaptive version of a normal studio. It is a professional-grade production environment optimized for maximum efficiency. And that efficiency has produced Billboard charting records, I may add. I worked with Chris Redding on his single Love Cure that features a blind recording artist, Lachi, and Chris has ADHD. And this album was made for autism acceptance and to honor his son who has autism and is non-speaking. The same setup running from this chair has produced music that charted on Billboard. Not because of the equipment. Equipment is just a tool. Because of the knowledge, the ear, and mind you, I have to wear hearing aids, and the workflow behind it. Early in my career, people will look at this setup and assume limitations. They will wonder out loud, sometimes directly to my face, how is it possible to compete with producers who had full mobility and access to traditional studio environments? And the records answer that question. Because at the end of the day, nobody hears the chair when they hear the music. They hear the quality. And quality is a function of skill and intention, not physical mobility. The second layer is content creation. And this is where the efficiency builds out of necessity becomes something that most creators, to say what or not, genuinely cannot match. Everything shoots from one fixed position. Camera set, lighting is dialed in, teleprompter running on a tablet positioned directly below the lens, so eye contact stays natural on camera, although eye contact is not my greatest skill considering I'm autistic and have ADHD. However, I'm doing my best. I actually recently got this app called Prompt Smart Pro that listens to my voice and it auto scrolls as I speak, which I think is a very cool accessibility aspect to it. Probably weren't thinking about it when they made it. However, it's wonderful. No assistant needed, which is super helpful. And I don't have to manually adjust. So all I gotta do is have my setup and my script. Now, from that single position, a full-length YouTube video, multiple short-form clips for TikTok and Instagram, and when I had a podcast, I was doing content for that too, which might have to bring back. All comes out in one setup. Multiple pieces of content, might I add again. Maximum output with minimum physical effort. That's not just accessibility. That is strategy. And it is a strategy that most creators who have full physical range of motion are not using because they never have been forced to think that efficiently. I just want you to sit with that for a moment. Just like I sit in this chair. The constraint created the system. The limitation forced the innovation. And the innovation created an advantage. That is a principle that applies to every business, every creative operation, every entrepreneur who thinks their circumstances are holding them back. Your constraints are not your ceiling. They are your blueprint. The third layer is business operations and brand partnerships. Every deal, every contract, every brand conversation happens digitally. My management handles deal flow and logistics. Creative direction and relationship building stays close. That separation of roles is intentional and critical because the moment you as a creator get buried in logistics, you stop creating. And a creator who stops creating stops growing. So creative time gets protected. Emails, the contracts, the back and forth, that lives with the team. The vision, the content, the brand identity, that stays in house. And that division is what allows showing up fully in the work that actually moves the needle instead of getting consumed by the administrative side of running a business. Now, here's the thing that ties all of this together, because that is the part that really matters. Accessibility technology has created an advantage that most people in business do not have. And here's why. When you are forced to find the most efficient path, you become an expert in efficiency. When you can't afford wasted motion, you eliminate everything that does not serve the outcome. When every system has to work perfectly because brute forcing your way through inefficiency is not an option, you build better systems than people who have never had to think that carefully about how they operate. The challenges are real. There are things navigated every single day that most people will never have to think about. But the solutions built to navigate those challenges have created a sharper, more efficient, more intentional operation than would have existed without them. And that is the thing to take from this video. Stop looking at your constraints as the reason you cannot build what you want. Start looking them as the forcing function that will make you build it better than anyone who never had to face them. The question is not what can you do despite your circumstances. The question is what have your circumstances forced you to become? If you are building something and you want to see what truly optimized looks like from the inside, subscribe. I document this entire journey every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. The music, the business, the tech, the real behind the scenes of what it looks like to build at a high level from a place most people would count out. I will see you in the next one.